Good evening. This is Michael Lilborn Williams coming to you live from the bonus room above my sister's garage right here in the Secret City. We don't want to keep you waiting any at all for the gospel of peace. We are going to be on this subject for quite some time. Now, one of the things, to be fair, I want to start, and we may start with this, and we may go into a different version of Isaiah just to show you that all the translations agree as to what this is talking about. And we're going into another translation and King James Version. I'm sorry, not the King James Version, but we're going into Bible in Basic English, the BBE. And this is Isaiah chapter 54. There's a precedent that is set here that we just cannot set aside. We cannot set aside the precedent that has been established here by Isaiah, the prophet of the cross. I don't know of anybody that disagrees that Isaiah is the primary prophet of the cross, even though all the prophets foretold of the cross. Isaiah had some things to say that were so exact and so succinct in every possible way. So here in Isaiah chapter 54, he says, "For this is like the days of Noah for me. For as I took an oath that the waters of Noah would never again go over the earth, so I have taken an oath that I will not be angry with you or say bitter words to you." Man, I tell you, I wish a lot of preachers would read this and realize the bitter words that come from their pulpit. It's not God, because God promised there would be no more bitter words for you. There's not a bitter pill. There's not a bitter message. It's called the gospel. It's called good news. He says, I've taken an oath that I will not be angry with you or say bitter words to you. Verse 10, "For the mountains may be taken away." That's a possibility. "And the hills be moved out of their place." That's a possibility. "But my love will not be taken from you." That's not a possibility. Or "my agreement of peace broken." That's not a possibility, saith the Lord, who hath mercy on thee. Now, I'm going to chain you to this because I'm not going to let anybody escape this comparison. When God said that he was not going to be angry or have any bitter words for anybody, according to this basic English translation here, we've already gone into the King James, and I promise you we'll try somebody else's translation out. It really is amazing to check them all out. That's one thing I've enjoyed over the years. People ask me, what's my favorite translation of the Bible? I like them all. I can see many things in many of them. My basic study Bible is the King James Version. Yep, it's true. I'm not a KJV only guy, but the reason I use it is for the study helps. All the study helps are just linked up to this, so that's why I use the King James Version. But look at all the other versions. Look at them, see if you can gain any insight from them. So what we have here is, before we do any of these, we're going to always check back in first to see what Isaiah said the comparison was that must be strictly adhered to. We do not have the right to take Isaiah's comparison and say, well, I think, but I think. And that's exactly what Christianity has done, is that they've taken this incredible, non-compromising comparison of the flood of Noah, which said, I will never flood the earth again with water. And you have to stop and ask yourself, who benefited from that? Believers? Just the Jewish community? Who benefited from the promise that came out of the flood? It's obviously obvious that the entire world has benefited from this and continues to, and that will never change. It's never going to happen again. but by equal comparison. And you cannot, by your own desire or doctrine, take Isaiah's prophecy and rip it apart and say, but no, I think. There's no room for that here. We're just going to go with what Isaiah has to say. And Isaiah said again, for this is like the waters of Noah to me, for as I took an oath that the waters of Noah would never again go over the earth, so I have taken an oath that I will not be angry with you or say bitter words to you. All those bitter preachers, wonder where they get it from. I can guarantee you they didn't get their bitter words that they've had for you from God. It just didn't happen. Now, I know they feel inspired, but you've got to stop and figure out what you're being inspired by. Sometimes it's our own anger. I remember sending out prophecies of anger back in the day, but it's while I was still ignorant, before I knew the gospel of peace. After I learned the gospel of peace, I've never said a thing to anybody that would indicate that God was angry with them, and nor have I used words that would imply God's displeasure with them. You know, when God finds you holy and righteous through the blood of Jesus, it's not really cool for a preacher to come around finding fault with what God made righteous. Wow, the audacity, right? So one of the things that comes up in this demonstration of this powerful prophecy in Isaiah. And he said, now here's some possibilities. Let me give you two possibilities. It's possible that the mountains might be taken away completely off the earth. It's also that possible that even the hills could be moved out of their place. But let me tell you what's not possible. It is not possible that my love will be taken from you. And it's not possible that the agreement of my peace with mankind will be broken. It is not possible. Now, if I could get you to just accept that, just as Isaiah said, I wouldn't have to preach anymore. But there's a whole lot of things you've been taught that we've got to go through and kind of unlearn. One of the unlearning points comes because everybody's convinced that the end of the world is coming. Every generation. Folks, I think I figured this up one time, and we're either the 51st or the 52nd generation since the cross. 52 generations have said, this is the generation. This is the generation. This is the generation. This is the generation. Now, I could do that 52 times for effect, but then my 15 minutes would be gone. But every generation has said that. However, Jesus stood there and looked at people right in the face in Matthew 24 and said, this generation shall not pass till all of this is done with, until everything is fulfilled. And then people read it and say, I wonder which generation he was talking about. The one he was talking to is what he said. I'm sorry, it's hilarious to me what I used to believe. It is hilarious to me what I used to believe in place of the gospel of peace. The gospel of peace is all-encompassing. We're going to be learning that if God's not angry at anybody, what about sin? If God's not angry at anybody, what about righteousness? If God's not angry at anybody, what about the end of the world? Which we're going to touch on today. Just a part of it. But the end of the world chapter is Matthew chapter 24. Now, because there is something in the Bible that has been translated many times, there's the word world has been translated from 4 different Greek words. Now, those 4 different Greek words mean different things, entirely different things, but they show up as the exact same word in English. How many of you can see there's a little bit of room for some confusion there? And in fact, there's been a lot of room for a whole lot of confusion. There is one thing that dismantles this entire thing, and you begin to see Matthew chapter 24, even as Jesus said that it was the generation he was talking to Not someone in the distant future, not this one. And oh, it's the end because look what's happening in Jerusalem. Look what's happening over here. Look what's happening over there. Oh, it's got to be the end. Let me tell you, no matter how bad you think it is, I can take you into the past and show you a time it was much worse than it is now. I guarantee you, I can show you many times that as far as the condition of this planet and the people on it, it has been multitudes of times worse than what it is at this point. But boy, they'll convince you, and John Hagee will get on and talk about the blood moons and tell you exactly what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And when it don't, he's got nothing to say. Well, he rearranges the calendar again, of course. Oh my goodness, the frivolity that we can get involved in and leave the cross out altogether. What do the blood moons have anything to do with the cross? What does it have to do with Jesus? Nothing. Nothing to do with Jesus. Nothing to do with the cross. So why in the world are we even trying to carry out such craziness? That's right. I called the dude crazy, didn't I? In chapter 24, and Jesus went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. What is the topic? The topic is the temple. And what specifically about the temple? The buildings of the temple. And Jesus said to them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and the end of the world? Now, let me tell you what this word is not. It is not the word cosmos. It's the term aeon. When will this age be over? What age? The age of the temple. If the temple's coming down, these folks, do you think these folks heard Jesus talking about the beautiful temples and thought about, oh my gosh, the world's going to end? I'm sorry. I think I did a goofy there, Donald Duck. But I think I did a good one too. But that is not the context of this. Now, preachers will jump you there and take you all the way to the destruction of the whole planet. But that wasn't the discussion. That wasn't the topic. They had no reason to ask him about when this planet was going to terminate. They wanted to ask him when the Jewish age was going to end. Now, you say, well, Jesus said that the stones of this temple, there won't be one left upon another. There's a lot of people that put this off to 70 AD, but you know, there's still stones left one upon another there still to this day. So, and Jesus said this is all going to happen right here to this generation. So we do have it narrowed down quite a bit. Here is the rub, though. Jesus said, destroy this temple and I will raise it up again in 3 days. So you see, if you're going to take Jesus's words and his foretelling of the future, you got to accept his description of what he was talking about. So when Jesus was talking about the physical temple, he said, I'm actually talking about my body. And they said, well, who is this guy that says he's going to destroy this magnificent temple and in 3 days he's going to raise it up? Well, the temple was destroyed. What happened in 70 AD becomes totally and completely irrelevant. By Jesus' own words, he made the rest of everything that he said completely irrelevant because he said, I am the temple. Destroy the temple and I'll raise it back up in 3 days. And it says that they came to him and asked him, when shall be the end of the world? When shall be the end of the age? Let me check on my time. Oh my goodness, I'm already out of time. We're going to not leave you hanging, though, but we will go back and cover this in greater detail. So then Jesus goes down a list and says, there's going to be wars and rumors of wars. Verse 6, but the end is not yet. And what happens? Every preacher in the world goes down this list and says, these are the signs of the end of the world. I'm sorry, I'm living in East Tennessee now. I've got to mock East Tennessee preachers. These are the signs of the end of the world. This is it. I'm telling you, there's wars, there's rumors of wars, there's famines, there's pestilence. Look at this virus. Look at this. Look at that. It's got to be the end of the world. I can show you a time when it was worse, and the end of the world didn't happen then either. Can you imagine what the people thought after Mount Vesuvius exploded in Italy? Can you imagine that at 1000 AD that they were thinking that this was the end of the world? It's actually what the thing that they were preaching was, that this was the beginning of the end. And here we are 1,000 years later. And you know what? I'm sitting here right now at 2020. And you know what? Somebody else is going to be doing this in 2021, 2022, 2025. 2040, because I can take you through the Old Testament and show you a multitude of places where God promised, I've created this and never will it ever be destroyed. No matter what you believe. God's promises are real, folks. They are real and they are substantive, and they cannot be just, well, you can mock them if you want to, because it's not going to bother God, but it's not going to change his mind at all. This planet is not the subject here. It's the age. It is the age of Judaism. And when did that age end? It ended at the cross. When Jesus died on the cross, it tells us that he took all the law, all sin, and he nailed it to his tree, and he took it out of the way. He blotted out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, and he took it away. He took away the law that was the dividing wall between us in Ephesians chapter 2, and he took it away, and he abolished it completely, and it completely ended an age that the church world has revived. We only teach what resurrected with Christ, and what resurrected with Christ was not the law. The law died and stayed dead. Sin died and stayed dead. Righteousness rose, and it stays alive. Peace arose, and it stays alive. And it's more possible for every mountain on this earth to just go flat. Just the air's all gone out of them. It is more possible for that to happen than for God to have even a harsh word for you. That's God's promise, not mine. Oh, there goes Mike Williams again. The only thing he knows is gospel of peace. And it's the only thing I want to know, because it is the key to understanding the gospel. We have gone over. We love you. We're going to keep preaching the gospel of peace. We know you're getting it. Don't deny it. We'll be back again with you Tuesday night. Love you. Bye.